When the world starts spinning and the truth gets blurred, the OGs step in, voices to be heard. With wisdom so grand, they're here to break it down. Gonna tell it like it is all around the town. OG chopping block, where the real talk don't stop. Cutting through the BS.
Welcome to another episode of the Chopping Block. We have some guests today, and we're going to take our usual journey talking about what's going on in the streets and how we have our point of views of it. We have the return of my man Darrin here, and introduce yourself to the audience, brother.
How y'all doing? My name is Courtney Buie, West Side residents, West Side Chicago, Holy City run up and down, 40 years old. That's my point of view.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put this thing on the block and chop it up. So let me ask you a question, brother. What are you, first of all, bag it up a little bit. What do you do for a living?
I'm an educator. I work for Chicago Public Schools. My direct title is community representative. So I'm the community representative for the Chicago Public School, working with elementary students. So that's kindergarten through 8th grade or pre-K through 8th grade. Really, my role is the community representative. So I do connect the school with different community resources, where the school would benefit from the organization in the community, and the organization would benefit from having a relationship with the school and the kids. And so I'm the liaison between those pieces. But because I'm a community man at heart, I'm really just there to provide whatever service is needed by a black man in a Chicago public school. And that's pretty much how my role goes. I'm like an everyday dad in the school.
So with that being said, what are some of the problems that you are identifying amongst young people?
The biggest, just to start from the elephant, the biggest is parenting. The biggest is parenting. A lot of parents didn't get parented. And so it's just like you got to keep going back when you try to educate a child, and then you see the parent is miseducated, and so you try to help the parent, and then you learn that either the one who's parenting the parent or leading the parent is lacking. And so you keep finding yourself going up the ladder till you either find yourself with something that's way out of your hands as an educator to deal with, or there's just a stubborn block there that says, hey, this is how this has been operating from this family line for this long. Who are you to change it? And so then we stuck now with little Johnny, who we given everything we can in the 6-hour day at school, and then he go home and it's erased. And so parenting, so parenting, I would say, is the greatest. And then after that, it's a lack of positive influence.
Are you seeing the creativity in these young children?
And that's the sad part, because they got that. They got that. They are so creative. And I can say this as an example. We don't have swings on the playground at our school. I guess they couldn't afford it. I don't know what the case is, but we don't have swings. They got a slide and all this monkey bars to climb on, right? They're gonna give us monkey bars.
Monkeys.
But they don't want to give us a swing.
Right.
But you know what our students did? They created swings with jump ropes. They made their own swings. They out there swinging. You can't tell them what they can't have. Just throw them a couple of resources and watch them create what they want. So they are very, very creative. And the sad thing is, real quick, is that the school system isn't designed to assess their creativity. It's not designed.
The community is designed, in my opinion, to kill the creativity. So what are some of the visions that you have that you think might be able to enhance that problem? Not the problem, but the solution to that problem.
Honestly, I think personally that black kids should be educated by black people. I think black kids should learn about other races of people through a filtering system from black people. So if I want my black child to learn about a Hispanic American culture, then I want to bring in a Hispanic American to my black school with my black kids, and they could teach them about Hispanic American culture, and then we can go on a trip to Mexico. We're not going across the bridge to Little Village.
Right.
We're going to go on a trip to Mexico, and we're going to teach our kids about Spanish-speaking people, the Latin origin, or whatever that.
And I feel like reality.
That is what's, because like with us, we know our kids innately to the point where we don't have to say some things for them to understand. And this is the babies.
Right.
So as they get older, you know, the world fills them up with the fear and the BS. But when they're babies, they're so creative. Like anything you throw at them, I'm talking about, they take that thing and create a whole new world out of that one thing you threw at them.
One thing.
Some of the men are abusing some of these guys. These guys are coming out of homes where there's all kind of stuff going on. So you got a lot of pent up anger. We need to be able to have places where these men can come, and these women too, because you got some girls, I know some girls I talk to, they young and they vicious. Man. But when you talk to them, see, they need a place where they can come and vent, where ain't nobody gonna say, ooh, you did that, where they can feel comfortable and their business ain't finna get told to somebody else. You know, it's a lot of people want to open up. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, because I want to say this before I lose my train of thought. It's the unspoken narrative. Like you said, fear-mongering is a thing, and propaganda has been around forever. So they want to make us afraid always. People will have you to think that if you was in my neighborhood in North Lawndale, where the statistics would prove it to be bad, that I'd never have days where I sit in my backyard sipping my coffee, watching the sunset, and don't hear no gunshots and no fight right here in this same community. But that narrative is not going to be told. Just like we was out there yesterday with free food, nothing asking you for nothing, asking you to commit to nothing, just to give. And people think it's a string attached to everything given. And just to show you, no, just to give. And it don't get talked about. Nobody show up. They don't make podcasts about that. The news don't show up. Nobody's there. When we standing on the corner because we got this big donation of money from this restaurant, and they providing us hot meals that people going and paying for in Salerno's restaurant in Oak Park. People going and paying for these meals. We out here giving them out. Every Tuesday night, we giving them out 4, 5 at a time. We got families pulling up in cars coming to get this food. Ain't nobody talking about that, but first thing in the morning, they're gonna tell you who got killed.
Wait a minute, ain't nobody talking about it. We finna talk about it. Where is this happening at?
So this what we're doing now. So we do it as is available. Now we ran out of funds for the food that we were giving out on the Tuesday night. This was happening on 16th and Millard through our church, Harmony Community Church, Chicago. We standing out there, we called it ready-made meals because it's hot and ready to eat. We give you spoon and fork and bread and everything. And we did it, it was more so throughout the winter months, you know, giving hot food. Now in the summer months, we go out on Wednesdays and love on the community.
What's the name of the church again?
Harmony Community Church, Chicago.
You got a number?
976 word. It's been the same number for so long. 773-976 word, WORD.
If you have food or clothing or whatever to donate, that you can afford to donate.
So let me say this then, before you go. Our church houses a nonprofit organization now where I sit on the board as one of the founding members. This nonprofit organization is called Harmony Community Cares. Harmony Community Cares is supporting North Lawndale and the surrounding communities. We got a food pantry that serves over 400 to 500 families a week. We got tutoring and community arts throughout the fall and spring programming season. So the kids come on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. They get direct help with homework and reading, and then they get a hot meal served to them before they leave at 8 p.m. So when they got home, all they got to do is take a shower and go to bed. We're trying to support the parent, support the child, support the whole person.
How do they donate to you?
To donate to that, you can go to HCC and harmonycommunitycares.org, hcc.org, harmonycommunitycares.org, or you could donate through the church, which is hcc1908.org. That's Harmony Community Church Chicago, hcc1908.org. Go to the donation tab. You'll find a list of things there. If you want to donate your money specifically towards a thing, maybe towards a kid, to help a family in specific, for the food pantry, you could donate specifically or generally to this organization. And we've been running since 2018. So just a few short years. We host a gala every year to support with the programming that we do. We now employ some of the church members, right? Because if we didn't start this program, it'll just be some people from the church volunteering. But how many people get tired of just volunteering? Like we learn, how many can afford to keep volunteering? So we learned like, man, we could staff some people. And so we were able to staff a couple of people, and we're trying to continue to grow this thing and partner up with those who are trying to keep our children in North Lawndale safe, educated, and healthy. That's the goal.
So you're saying that you want young people to do something that's going to make the world a better place? Here's a young man telling you what he's doing, what the church is doing. Now support them so that the world can be a better place. The other thing that I was going to say, you know, we have to be intelligent about this thing, man. You know, all other countries discipline their youth through what? The military. They have a military. They send them into the military, give them a skill, discipline them, put them back in society. They're focused. See, we don't have that.
And it's mandatory.
It's mandatory at 18.
That's what we keep trying to educate our children while everyone else is training their children. We're the only ones continually to try to educate. We want to give them all this knowledge, but we're not training them in anything.
But isn't...
We need a training camp.
But I go back, brother, to we are training them, but we're training them in the wrong way. You know, we have people...
Totally agree.
We have people training them, but they're not training them. They're training them to be ministers to society as opposed to be productive citizens.
But think...
No, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was just saying because, you know, my thing is I love innocence. I love to see a child grow up. That's the most gifted thing I think you can give to a parent is a child. But once again, I'm just that type of person to say, hey man, we got to do better about it. We got to do better dealing with our children. You know, and Mr. Rick, I agree with you, man. I'm like, hey, because when I came out of high school, my grandfather said you can go to college, you can get a job, but I don't want you to go to the military, but you got to do something.
You got to do something, Pop.
There you go.
And it's got to be structured.
It's got to be structured. But my family, they raised me in a very structured way. And I agree with you 100%, Mr. Rick, because an idle mind, that's exactly what it is. Anybody can feel that void. But we're filling the void with a lot of destruction and negativity, brother. Go ahead.
So this is what I wanted to say though. I won't be mad at the brother who brought this kid up in that destruction and violence because that's that brother's agenda. We supposed to bring them up under our agenda. And if we ain't got no agenda for them, they going over there for that agenda. And that's where the issue lies, is all of us that find out that ain't right, let me do right. Now we're not influencing them to be a part of the agenda, or we just doing good and we ain't got no agenda. We just know we ain't doing bad no more. But you ain't got no agenda to do better. You know why certain kids can play around in certain neighborhoods? Because certain men put certain things in place so they can do that.
Right.
Certain men say, we're going to set this up over here and y'all can't come over here.
Right.
With none of that. But what we do, we just want to get ourselves in a better position so that we ain't struggling and that our kids don't kill us.
And you're putting yourself in a worse position.
In the worst position. What I say is, I wrote a plan. It's written. I got it. It's called compete with the streets. That's the only way you're going to do it. You got to compete. If you're not bringing nothing to compete with what they offering over there, then you might as well keep walking. They heard all the ideas before.
The thing I'm tired of hearing is they, them, you know, the responsibility on somebody else. You know, when are we gonna man up?
Right.
When are we gonna take the responsibility? When are we gonna set the example for young people? Hey, don't get it twisted. I had a life that created plenty of havoc, plenty of misguidance for other people. But it took me years. It took me 50 years just to even accept the fact that that is what I was doing. Then it might have took me another 5 years to settle in on being determined to try to make up for some of the havoc that I caused in the black community and other places. So we're not just sitting here talking.
But let me ask you this, Mr. Rick. Because, brother, I know you have a good head on your shoulder, and we talked a lot. I'm just trying to get to something here.
Go ahead.
Black leadership from the top down seem to be fragmented. I hear all these companies and all these stop the violence organizations, stop the violence this, stop the violence that. I know I can't walk in the community and tell this young kid because they're gonna look at me and say, hey man, you ain't traveled in my shoes. So I don't know you, I don't trust you, you could be the feds. So I'm gonna put this on the chopping block. How do we fix the problem? If you had to talk to America and say, this is the solution, because if they're pumping billions of dollars into all these stop the violence and the violence keep going up, somebody's just keeping that money in their pocket. If you don't see a retention and you don't see where the money is affecting communities, I know what I would do, and I know Mr. Rick, what you said about the military, why not make it mandatory for kids 18 years old to get drafted into the military? Give them a job, give them an understanding.
Only reason is because it's not our military. And we're working with governments that would turn that same military on us. Have
turned it on us.
Have. So that would be the first reason why I wouldn't agree with that unless we came up with it. If we would bring back the Black Panther as a party and we can start the military there, then I would say that I'm 100% with that. But what I would tell America, how something like that works, how someone like you can go into the same community someone like I can, though you haven't walked those shoes, is you walk with me. When I walk with people through my community, and hey, what's up, Courtney? Hey, the kids, hey, Mr. Buie. Oh, that's Mr. Buie. That's my teacher from the school. And I'm talking about, it's so gratifying, little kids. Hey, Mr. Buie, come and give me a hug. And then the grown-up is like, who is that? Like, oh, that's Mr. Buie. He cool. Now, because the kid trusts me, the parent trusts me. And because they trust me and I bring you around and you with me, they trust you. Now, you could do something that I probably can't do, but you with me now. But we too divided.
Let me add something to what you're saying and what you previously said. I was a radical. I started my journey as an adolescent on 13th and Lawndale. I'm a West Sider, through and through. So the gangs, the drugs, I got hit by all of it. What happened for me? At the age of 18, I went into the U.S. Army, got disciplined in a way that I didn't even know discipline existed. I'm just telling you here. After 3 years of being in the Army, they put something in me that when I came out of the Army, I fell to drugs, I fell to the game, I fell to everything. But the thing that helped me save myself was what they gave me. And I use that today to save other people. So I understand what you're saying. And what I'm saying is that environment, for the first 6 weeks being in that environment, they will wipe your mind clean. They will wipe your mind clean and then give you another mind.
Yeah.
Now, back to what you said. The problem that I see with that is that when I came out of there was nothing waiting for me to use those skills to help my community, to build. You understand what I'm saying? So I drifted off into lunacy until I was mature enough to understand what they had gave me and how I could benefit my people. See, we have to have a space to come back to. See, when you go in that game, when you go in the military, you're going to sign a contract. So why don't we have them sign a second contract? When you come out of there, we got something waiting for you here. Yeah. And you can use that. Go ahead, brother.
Robert says, Sandy, and I want you to get in on this. You said reprogram. You said they know you, so I need to come with you. Why can't we reprogram our kids with positivity as opposed to negativity? Why can't we create our own self? That's what they call education. You know, I see you, HS, you know, the Black Historical College. Tuskegee, Spelman, Morehouse, Fisk, all of these black organizations. But I think the bigger issue on the chopping block is, and D, I want you to jump into this, it's the classism black folks play on themselves. We don't want to deal with them niggas. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? The only time I want to deal with him or her is during the election period. Call your alderman, call your state rep, call your state representative, and see how they treat you until election time. So I'm saying, man, it got to be from the top down, because we're missing something in between, because it seems like the people who have the ability to get the funding, to get the reserves, play that game, but then when it comes to, man, you got to get down and dirty. You got to get your knees and your arms and your hands dirty. You can't be sitting up, man, in the suburbs, man, driving the Bentley or Mercedes, talking to someone on the phone about dealing with a problem like this. Man, this is a pandemic, an epidemic of violence that's wiping our youth out. If they're not even getting killed on the street, they're being incarcerated. And I said this in our last one, D, and I'll throw it to you on the chopping block. That Tim Scott, man, got up there in the Republican, I'm not going to get political, but he said, you know, we're going to help clean up the streets of Chicago. Well, I know your plan. All you're going to do is build more prisons. That's your plan. You build more prisons so you can house more kids. We're raising a generation of criminals. Let's just call it for what it is. Do you always tell me, hey, man, don't sugarcoat it. Be a straight shoot about this. Do you feel like, man, we're raising a generation of criminals?
This is what I think. Going back to what all three of you all said. Number one, you look in the Bible, it said that people were transformed by the renewing of your mind. Number one, we got a lot of negative influences. That's for one. I agree with you, Brother Courtney, when you said we got a lot of people, they ain't afraid to die, but they're not afraid. They are afraid to kill for what's right. The Bible says there's a time for everything. There's some things that's going on in our community that should not be allowed. Should nobody feel that comfortable to come in my community and snatch a black girl? Mm-hmm. He should have been killed when he did that right there on the spot. But we rely on too many other people. I don't believe we should rely on politicians. When you think about when all these street gangs started, you didn't go to no politician and ask them, because you started it, you set your own structure, and you govern it yourself. Why not do the same thing, but have it where it's to the betterment of our people. Here's another thing. Even some of the original guys, some of this is their fault. It is. Some of it's their fault.
It's all of our fault.
Yeah, that's why I said I apologize.
Right.
Because we can look back and say, oh, the young people, they doing this. Back in the day when I would have did it, what difference do it make if you walked up on another black man point blank where you could smell his breath and blew his head off? That was still another black man you killed. Now, yes, we don't want no innocent people getting killed, but we don't want none of them getting killed. We don't want none of that.
How about we don't want human beings
Exactly.
getting killed?
Exactly. So it shouldn't be where, well, I did it with style and I do it with this. We got a lot of old brothers that tell these war stories, and you got to be careful. I told an older man that you got to be careful how you tell these stories, because see, when I heard it, I'm not looking at the negativity of it. And as a young person, like I said, I was 8 years old, wanted to be in the game. Now I knew it was killing going on, but it looked the way the story would be told. It wouldn't be told as if I'm telling you this so you'll know what happened. It was told like it was glorifying the wars with the Egyptian cobras, the imperial Chapmans, the Roman saints, the vice. These are stories we was hearing. So, but they told it in a way where it sound glorious.
Once again, it's coming from the top down. Once again, these young kids are not given an opportunity to live a life of a child because they're being manipulated by someone on a higher level.
Let me throw. I patted you for a second, because what you just described to me about sitting there, listening to this stuff, wanting to participate in it. That's a war story. Mm-hmm. That's a military activity. The only difference is it's clandestine.
Right.
But your desire at 8 years old, think about that, was willing to participate in it because there was something there that you identified with. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Get to that too. You're right.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because at 8 years old, I was sitting there identifying and desiring the same shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now, Mr. Rick, and this is what we talked about the last chopping block. Now we have these podcasts, Vlad, No Jumper, Adam. Now we have. They're glorifying this.
Mm-hmm.
They're glorifying it because we, and I want the audience to hear me very clearly, we are an unprotected people. You got Vlad, you got No Jumper, you got various other, some even black podcasts, we're not discriminating here, that are allowed to come in our homes with this bullshit. And there's no way to protect our children from it.
Mr. Rick, when you really emphasize, I was 8 years old. I want the parents to understand this. Nobody has to put evil in your child. It's already there.
They're just
Only thing I
exploiting
need
it.
is a flower pot to grow in. It's already there. The desire to do evil. The Bible said, Jesus even said, out of the heart comes murder and adulteries and all these things. We already born corrupt. We just need let's put it like this. Sin is like ice cream. Everybody don't like the same flavor, but it's one in there for everybody. Chocolate, vanilla, whatever it is. Some people are attracted to violence. Some people are attracted to other things, stealing. I know guys who lie so much that, they lie so much.
They don't even know how to tell the truth.
Yeah. And then they done told them lies so much, everybody, what he say, don't even honor that. So it's different people attracted to different things. We got now all these different podcasts that promote all this stuff because they know that's already in. It ain't just black kids. Let's get that straight. It's not just black kids
they're corrupting
that kill. You got white kids, believe this. Mexicans, other people from other countries. Listen to this. When a black kid is killed in the street, let's say an innocent little kid gets caught in the crossfire, believe that that was an accident 99.9% of the time. Even the guys that's out here shooting each other, when they shoot and a baby get killed, normally that's an accident. Now, is it tragic? Yes, that's an accident. But you have white people who purposely will go into a school and kill kids. We normally don't do that. So they can't look at us and say they're violent and kill us. Every world war was started by a white person against other white people. And people don't know you got white people that get killed by white people all the time. They just don't advertise it. Like you said,
and that's my
being military. Point. White folks, listen, I was blessed. I got a chance to be a correctional counselor. I worked with juvenile justice system. I worked in the firearms industry. And I got a chance to work a lot around the light of white folks. I learned a lot about firearms and ballistics. The difference between us and white folks, they train their children to be protectors of their race. We're the only ones that think that if we say protect our race, we not being godly. We're the only ones that think like that. Everybody else knows that race comes, other than your relationship with God, you protect your race, that's your family.
Your race is your relationship with God.
It's a difference between being prejudiced and racist. Racist means that I'm going to put my race first. I'm not going to take care of nobody outside of my house first. I'm not going to take care of nobody outside of my house first. My family comes first. I was born into this race. I had nothing to do with that. My race comes first. I'm not mad at a white person that looks out for their race. They were born into that race. The problem is we don't think like that. We don't think about I'm going to protect my race. Even when we established schools and businesses, Tulsa, Oklahoma, let's go back to that. Black people had businesses. We don't think when you create a business, you have to have a military and a security team to protect that. You just can't have that and ain't nobody gonna take it from you. Everybody else knows before a building goes up, they done already put security measures in place. We don't do that. And same thing with our kids. Let's say when we went back to gangbanging, Delvin, let's use this example. Let's say me and Courtney, we're in the same mob, right? He go to school in another area. I'm on school on the south side. We in the same group. If he say we have got a problem, we're going to get a lot of guys and we going up to his school. You got to do that for your kids too. You got to take your kids to school. You got to pick them. They got to know some of these kids wouldn't even be doing what they doing if they knew that they had somebody to back them up. A lot of them getting this stuff because they need protection. If your kid knew that you was going to be up there after school to pick them up when they got a problem, a lot of that will cut out. I did the same thing like I did with my guys. When they said we had a problem, we going up to your school. We're going to go up there deep. Same thing with my son and my daughter was growing up. I took a night job so I could take my kids to school and pick them up. And them other kids knew, these are my kids. When you start touching my kids, now you a grown person. I don't play with kids either when it come to my kids. I don't play with nobody, not even kids when they come to my kids. Our kids got to know they protected. A lot of these kids they scared to come outside because I ain't got nobody to back me up.
That's for real.
So we got to be able to protect our kids. Go ahead, brother.
I just wanted to say though, that's one thing we can't forget, because like you say, it's always somebody at the top. It's always somebody at the top, especially with us, that's being infiltrated, right? Yeah, you could be bought with a dollar sign or something, like get you and your family out the way, just do this one thing for us. And that's always going to keep us down here. But what you got to understand is we trying to climb a ladder in somebody else's game.
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We trying to climb a ladder in their game, and they designed this game. It's like Monopoly. They playing this game from a helicopter view. When you on 13th and Lawndale and they want to make sure you get into it with somebody on 13th and Springfield, they looking at it from up here. What can we put right here? What can we put right here to create this type of thing to happen? I always tell people black on black crime came from white people. If we look at our origin and our history, we're a family-oriented people.
Family-oriented.
As we was brought over here and we watched and heard and read about the fall of the Roman Empire and why it fell, they got in tune with each other. That was the backstabbing of the brother and against the brother and the sister, and then they wanted to fornicate with each other because they had so much power they didn't know what to do with it. And now they gave us that false sense of power. That's why we claim blocks that we don't got. We claim buildings that don't got our names on them.
Right.
We inherited that. This all of this American Western, this is what black people are.
And
it's not just us, but their influence.
Let's go to the surface of it. Let's analyze the movie, Django.
We was just talking about that.
I just found out that was
let's look at
originally
the
white.
science of that. You know, I appreciate that guy. What's his name?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino. I appreciate him for having the balls to even tell it. He went through a lot of shit to tell that movie. But you look at what he exposed. You got two guys sitting here fighting each other to the death.
The Mandingo.
Yeah, while the others are betting and drinking and look what the black woman is doing.
What's she doing, Mr. Rick?
She was what's that the other big time actor? I love him. I
He
love
was in
him.
that movie?
Yeah.
You talking about Kerry Washington?
No, I'm
Jamie
talking
Foxx?
about I'm talking about the white guy.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Man, hat off to you, brother. The black lady. She was his, what do you call it? Mistress. Yeah, slave mistress. You see what I'm saying? So he's exposing a society that was being created hundreds of years ago. And then we look at our condition today and we wonder, how did we invent it? You ain't invented shit.
You ain't invented nothing.
You were rat in the race.
Given to you.
Right.
You're a rat in the race.
Right.
Your hatred was given to you, self-hatred. Yes. Your woman looking up to the white man, it was given to you. You didn't create a goddamn thing.
Where did that gangsterism come from? When black folks came from the South, who was the gangbangers? The white boys. They just progressed and became politicians. The Irish, the Jews, the Italians, the Germans, these were your gang members. Black folks was working jobs. We wanted to be just like them. That's why you got a bunch of niggas running around called Nitty, Caesar, Capone, and all these different names. Because we wanted to be just like them. And like you said, this is their gang. I remember this, somebody in my family, I can't think of who used to say it, but they used to, when they would name black slaves, sometimes they give them names like Monroe. And this person used to always say, Monroe ain't got no business trying to do what Mr. Charlie do. You trying to play Mr. Charlie's game. Keep your nose clean. The problem, I believe, one of our biggest problem is we fail to protect our people. Here's another thing, and I'm not going to mention no names, but I have to tell it like it is. It's a so-called prominent pastor on the South Side some years ago. We was talking about this gang stuff. I sent them the text talking about getting together and doing something. You know what he told me? Good luck. But now, all of a sudden, he's doing something and everybody got all this attention like this guy really cared. You got people that are glory hungry.
It's fashionable.
It's fashionable. You know how things change? Some of the biggest change we've made in the street, we had like 16 guys come to Christ on 111. But you know who we had to work with? It was all the pastors that came off of the streets just like we did. None of them other people, even to this day, I done had better jobs than some of them. But they still look at us like we ain't nothing.
House nigga in the field. Nigga.
Yeah, it's people even now, the so-called good people.
But that's what we're talking about.
They think that they better than me because of my background. Now, I ain't never used drugs before. Some of them so-called people got strung out. I ain't never used no drugs. Yeah, I made a bad decision in my life and became a gang leader, but I walked away, no drugs. I'm paying for it in my body because I've been shot and stabbed twice. But you got some of them that think they're better. I remember when we left the west side and came to the south side. It was black people over there thought they was better than us because of where we came from. So what I'm saying is some of these kids out here, what the problem is they don't have good leadership. These kids could be turned into something. They so talented and gifted. Even the drill rappers, I don't like drill rap, but I'm saying they got the gifts and the talents that could be turned into something else.
But can I jump in real quick,
Go ahead.
brother? And I want to put this on the chopping block, and then I want to start from UD, Mr. Rick, you, brother. You know, I'm listening to all of this, and I agree with it. But we're here now.
Right.
We're here. We're here because of who we have become. If we go back to the Willie Lynch, and everybody, if you haven't read that letter, you need to read it.
Right.
Now they got something on the table called Project 2025. Damn near, to me, is a modern day Willie Lynch. I believe that alone.
47.
Here's what I'm saying, brother. When you have a 7, 8-year-old child, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old child, who has the gift of life, who's living in the community, who's playing video games and watching cartoons, and then some older influence come in there and say, hey, little nigga, get up. Come over here, man. Let me show you how to hold this gun, man. I want you to do some work for me. That's the birth of violence. We're raising, and that's why Mr. Rick and I love this show, because we're getting a voice out there. We ain't got time for all the bullshit, who's sleeping with who and
Right.
and who's having sex with who.
Right.
That's craziness to me. That's Solomon and Gomorrah. The issue to me is self-discipline in our community, fighting for what we know is right. For example, let me throw a solution on the table, then I want to listen to what your brothers say. If we were talking to white America right now, and white America was listening to us, and they said, we don't understand y'all. We're afraid of y'all. We don't want you in our community because you're going to take our property values down. We don't want you in the community because we don't feel safe around you. Right? Am I missing anything? So now what I'm asking is this. If I'm talking to white America, we're no threat to you, because we have to fix ourselves first before we start worrying about trying to fix others. See, I worry about my family. I worry about my household. I make sure that my family is taken care of. And when we look at, and we was talking about hate, but let's talk about love. You was talking about love, brother. When you hugged the brother, you know what I'm saying? He was like, brother, man, if we can just find a way to replace that hate with some love and some guidance, and maybe even talk to the leaders, the gang leaders out there, the older men, say, hey man, stop filling these kids' heads up with that stuff. It's going to have to take something special. Somebody said, man, if back in the day it used to be like that, man, they used to control. People knew they had to stay disciplined and the code and the pledge and stuff like that. I don't understand that. All I understand, when I was growing up, I was a kid. And I loved my childhood. You see what I'm saying? I got to go to Disneyland. we went to the creek and we played. I learned to ride the bike. That's where we learned to play what we call gravel pit football. I grew up being a kid, and it made me the man I am today. But when we're robbing innocent kids of their childhood in this most developmental time of their lives, brother, we as black men and black women has got to start taking responsibility for our own action. Okay, I'm gonna put that on the chopping block.
Yeah, let me grab that first. I'm gonna start off with, I never had a childhood because I didn't come up in an environment where that was a system. I came up in an environment with some loving parents, but what people call the normal childhood, I don't know shit about that. I grew up with loving people that came out of Mississippi, of a slave system that was still being continued in the 60s, the 50s. So when they escaped that and came here, all they had that they could give me was their emotions. So when people got here And I'm coming to my point here. When people got here in Chicago looking for work or what have you, hey man, that thing just had a different face on it. You know, you can quit the bullshit. It just had a different face. You know, and we had a bunch of hopes and prayers. But my point is this. You said something, in fact, all of you said something that pierces my mind. Can we get back to love? What is love? If I asked you to write down your definition of love, and I asked you, and I asked you, and I wrote it down, we'd have 4 different goddamn answers. What is this love thing? See, we're chasing a damn illusion here. It's a fantasy, huh?
You love your family. You love your daughter. Your wife.
Do I love my family? If I can't define love, how do I love my family? What is love? What I want to do, what I have a desire to do is protect my family. Is to feed, clothe, and shelter my family. These are the desires I have. But this thing that everybody keeps talking about, love. You know, you go across the street, cat talking about, hey baby, you know I love you. All he's saying is, you know I won't sleep with you. So what is the true definition of love? We have to define something in order to understand it.
And I would say this, if I could, if I had to give the true definition of love, I would say is laying down one's life for another, regardless of who that other is. I would call that true love. And the reason I say that is because I understand love to be unconditional. And the most scary condition to anybody is to lose their life, because they don't know what's after that. And if they could tell you what was after that, you might have more people willing to lose their life over things will lessen the value of it.
Let me just interject and you can have it right back. I had a leader. I have a teacher. His name is the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And I told him when I was very, very young, I said, you know, sir, you know, I would die for you. He looked at me and said, hey, I don't need you to die for me. I need you to live for me. See, we got to learn what we're saying here. I don't want you to die for me. But if you live for me, then there's another, that's a different power. You can't do me no goddamn good dead.
I'm so glad you said that, because you clarified my point. See, when you lay your life down, it ain't necessarily dying. See, we learn biblically that we give our lives a living sacrifice. So when I say I'm going to lay my life down for all these kids, I'm going to not choose to do whatever I want to do, and I'm going to do something that's going to benefit them. I'm laying down my life. Because I could choose to do anything with my life. God gave it to me, I got it now. But I'm laying it down for them.
You're
to
living
do something for them. To make a walkway, a path, a bridge, a way for them. So that's why I say, you know, I wanted to do some other stuff in my life. You know, I wanted to do some crazy things. But I mean, honestly, after my son was born, that's when things changed for me. After my son was born.
What's your prior history, brother? Give us your prior history. What journey did you go to get this mindset that you have today?
Well, see, I mean, I'm born on the west side of Chicago with 9 siblings. We ain't had nothing. Both of my parents hail from Mississippi as well. I'm not great in knowing my history. I'm picking up on trying to learn it now. I grew up in the hood where I didn't go downtown until I probably was almost grown. And I didn't see anything outside of the hood for many years. So my mind was stifled. I was stubborn. I didn't care to learn nothing. So I understand these guys when they do that, and I don't write them off when they reject the knowledge. I just wait, because love is patient. Love is kind. I understand these things about love. And so I come from struggling, poor, mom and dad in the crib. Dad used to beat my mom, watch her try to kill herself, lived in shelter to shelter to shelter, battered women's shelter, as my dad tried to keep up with where we was at. And, you know, then by the time I was 15, 16, that's when I found Christ again for myself and made my way back to the church without my parents. And so that's when I started, you know, trying. You know, I was still living my life, selling drugs. You know, I grew up washing cars. I talked a little bit earlier about Compete with the Street, a plan. That plan is a car washing and mentor collaboration plan that I want to work with the Juvenile Detention Center to promise the kids something after they get out. I want to work with them in the last 6 months, but when you get out, you got a job at the car wash. When you get out, you got this, I got something for you to do. I got a mission, a goal. And if you don't take it, that's great. But at least we got something, and we can't sit around the table and say they don't got nothing for the kids when they get out no more. And so that's that. But I got that because my brother gave me that. My brother joined gangs. He was an unknown vice lord. He was over there on 13th and Millard at the time when he did it. He joined the gang for the money. He didn't need the family. We had family. He needed the money. We didn't have nothing. People talked about us because of what we had on. So he joined for the money. And when he started getting the money, he brought my brother into the money, not the gang. Because then my brother went to a different gang. And the gang he went to was for the camaraderie. That's where we was at, you know. And then the drugs, the selling drugs is really what brought my family into gangs. But what kept us grounded and that we didn't lose our lives, and they went to jail. I didn't ever go. I did a day in the bullpen. I never really did nothing more than that. But I stayed out because of my brothers. They taught me through it. Don't be nobody sent off. You know what I mean? I never understood. I never joined the gang. They tried to bless me in when I was 12 years old, and I denied it because at that 12-year-old mindset, I didn't understand why somebody else had to be my chief. I never understood that. It was always battle. Whoever wins, that's who the top. That's who respected. I never went into nothing with somebody as the hierarchy already, and I don't know how they got there or why. So I didn't accept it, but I ran with the game. And you know, they kept me, they respected, they loved on me. You know, there's always some attitude, I guess, since I was 12 too. But then once I grew up with the guys, I was just, no, oh, he with the Travelers, he a traveler, you know, that's what it is. And so I didn't depart from that until I got older, but that's because I started to delve more into church and try to find myself spiritually more. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of separated me. And that also allowed the guys to respect the move. It was like, all right, he ain't just, you know, moving, he trying to do something different. Same guys to this day respect me right now. And they'll tell me, man, we watched you, you know, I was poor. They used to talk about us, right? All my family, my granddad had muscles. He 98, he'll be 99. He said he want to live to 100 and he good. He's still right there on Cermak in St. Louis where he been for the past 70 years. And he used to do push-ups. I watched my granddad do push-ups at 70-something, 80 years old. And, you know, now he can't do them no more, but I understand a lot of me is genetic. This was passed down. I didn't do nothing to gain this or earn this. I'm saying? You know, this was passed down. It was genetic. And so now that, you know, other people, they see us like, all them Buie strong. And one day they smelled some chicken. My mom was cooking what we had, and the chicken wasn't it wasn't good no more. It was spoiled. Whole block smelled it. They used to be like, the Buie strong because they eat spoiled chicken. And so they went around saying that for a while, you know what I mean? And it was like the whole block knew it because we stand on 18th and Central Park, and we was going in the house when the lights came on and things like that. Had to stay off 16th Street or somebody was gonna get us and stuff like that. But what did we do? We drew to that, to the point where we ended up hanging on 16th Street. I was on 16th from Kedzie to Carlisle. Like, that was it. Somewhere up into there, you gonna find me. And if I wasn't over there, my granddad had the house on Cermak. We was on Cermak. From Kedzie, you know, back to Pulaski mostly. And that was what it was. And I just took my first trip somewhere out the state at 30-something years old. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so I just came from a real closed in, you know, background, closed in mindset where I had to unlearn so much and open my mind. So now I see myself as a self-educator. I'm educating myself.
When the world starts spinning and the truth gets blurred, the OGs stepping voices to be heard. With wisdom so grand, they're here to break it down. Gonna tell it like it is all around the town. OG chopping block, where the real talk don't stop. Cutting through the BS, bringing truth to the top. Every episode, the truth unfolds. Holding it down, the OGs are bold. Calling out the hype, calling out the lies. From the city streets to the corporate skies. Every single show, they bring the fire. Expose